Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is Foxworth Friday. Domonique Foxworth, what's going on?
Nothing much. I'm beginning to enjoy this time of year where it feels like it's harder to come up with topics, but really it's just more flexibility, especially on Fridays. We go wherever we want to go. It's kind of fun.
Right. I'm going to start with some hating. Like, I realize this as I look up at you right now, is that like you've been flipping up the hair a little bit, and you like keep taking a little bit more hair off without having to take all the hair off. And that's why I'm hating. You know what I'm saying? Like you can actually make these like intermediate steps. Maybe I need the head shape you got, because then you can pull that off a little bit more. Maybe that's all this is.
I don't know, man. I think also part of this is finding the right height for my current follicle density. Is like, while it may not look too bad between you and me right here on this screen, but there's certain hair lengths that the lack of follicle density becomes a problem. And so like, I'm not at Doc Rivers territory where, I mean, what you doing, man? You ain't fooling nobody. You are home, but you just don't want to go in. You've already come home, but you don't want to open the door. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying to figure out. And I feel like I like this height, this length, because it feels like you can't detect that some of these zones are not being properly covered anymore. There's
like you running the blitz on one side and there's a gap. You just got to hope that's what you operate on. You ain't going to be able to get the ball out of here fast enough to recognize that the middle third is wide open.
Right now, we are pre-snap disguise type of defense. We try to confuse all the quarterbacks because there are weak spots in this zone, but you ain't going to know until after the play is snapped.
Yeah, see, this is the other thing that's going on with you. Like, I'm not wishing ill upon you. I hope I don't feel like I'm hating. I just making an observation here that one thing I did get lucky on is, like, this is where LeBron caught the L. LeBron had the quickly fading hairline plus the wrong shape head for coming home, right? Like he can't move back into, like he can't, it's probably like in real life, his ass too big to move back into his old room. He can't come back home. There ain't nowhere for him to sleep at the crib. And he ain't got the dome that was going to allow him. He would have just come home if he could have, right? Like Kobe was the one that was interesting because for a while, Kobe was living that Doc Rivers life, where he was bringing his own guard, right? Like there was a while where he was doing it like in principle, but he could have rocked it out. There was no need for him to do that. I don't feel like for you that the trip home is going to be the move.
Yeah, I don't know. But as was in Friday After Next, I know somebody who like it. So I am good. Yeah, so
well. You like somebody, you got somebody who like it right now. You have not, as far as I know, had to bring it all the way home to fully test this. Maybe it was Ricky Hazen. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the fact of the matter is, there are lots of things that you can contribute. Yes. And my looks, frankly, like, I don't think I'm an unattractive man, but I never thought that I was leading with looks. Like I told you, when I was around 12, 13 years old, I started getting interested in girls. There was a couple guys in school that all the girls thought was cute. And I started scoring some touchdowns. That shit changed. I started getting good at some shit. That shit changed. You like whatever you do, that shit changed. And it's I'm not ashamed to say that I recognize that my success on and off the field is a part of who I am. It is a part of why I'm attractive. So it's all good.
Now I'm a glue guy. Like I recognize this. Like in my game, I'm a glue guy, but it's kind of like Rasheed Wallace glue guy, which is to say a glue guy that, as it relates to the real world, is 6'11". I'm not 6'11" in real life, right? But like, if you scale the real world to the scale of the NBA, I'm 6'11".
That's the thing. That's the benefit for guys is I feel like there is a threshold. It's kind of like running the 40 at the combine for receivers. It's like you just got to be so fast. So 4.21 ain't doing much. For us, if you see a 4.21 on the street, you're like, holy shit. But for in my experience, for women, long as you ain't ugly, all the other stuff is a lot more important. And I ain't ugly, so I'm good. I bring all this other stuff and it works just fine.
And by the way, you can overcome ugly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've heard women say that they like men that are kind of ugly, and I'm just like, can you walk this back a little bit? Like there's something going on that I don't really like. Huh? Is that right? Right? Because see, women can get away with saying that because women view men in these holistic ways, and so women can get away with saying that and it be okay. Let you be a dude, God forbid, a dude that ain't got to live like this. Let you be a dude that's out here being like, oh no, I like them ugly. See what happened.
Yeah, women, I think, I've certainly had this experience in the past, whereas be somebody that, not that they're not interested in me, but they don't pay any mind, and then someone else comes up and starts acting like I'm something special, that all of a sudden these people want to talk to you a little bit more. It's, relationship dynamics are complicated. They're pretty simple for us, though.
Fair.
It starts out pretty simple, at least. It gets complicated, but first step, are you bad? Check. All right, now everything else comes into play.
We will work everything else out from there. You are 100% correct. Like, well, okay. Hey, look here. You can't say she ain't bringing nothing to the table.
and if it's so much of a problem, all the other stuff is a problem, that will make you move on. So we're not stupid. Like, we're not going to make considerations for everybody, but there's some leeway that is afforded to people if when I see you, I'm like, damn. All right. Everything else, we can build a team around this. As we need that one skill, we can build a team around.
Domonique, I'm curious if the people can tell that we don't really know what the hell we're gonna talk about because it's not really cracking. Like, the only thing I saw coming in here to talk about was, as I was coming in, the report came out that Jake Paul gonna fight Mike Tyson. And can we just start the GoFundMe? In fact, forget about the GoFundMe. Jake Paul, can you just write Mike Tyson a check?
Yeah, my first reaction was sadness, but also like the potential outcomes for this is like, I assume that it's going to be a very exhibition-y exhibition. Like, I don't expect it to be like really vicious punches being thrown. However, I don't know Mike's financial situation. I could assume that it because he's taking this, that it's not great. But also, you could assume that it's a big check to not work that hard. So, even if he got money and he don't need it, it shouldn't be sad. It's just like, all right, they're going to give me a big check to not work that hard. But the real fear, and the thing that none of us want, that is the distinct possibility, is he could whoop Mike Tyson's 57-year-old ass, and that ain't going to make nobody happy.
It's not going to make anybody happy. And I guess it's possible that he could do that. And just so we're clear, this is how Mike Tyson was able to keep selling pay-per-view fights into the 21st century. I just got a little hope within me that fight gonna start and it gonna be kind of like Jack Nicklaus at the 1986 Masters. You know what I'm saying? Or like in 03 when Mike could still put up 40 as a wizard, right? Could put them numbers up. You're not going to tell me that there's not a part of Mike Tyson that can't just dial it up. It ain't even got to be for long. It's only got to be for about 45 minutes. And you just hit that dude in the ribs over and over and over again until he hits the ground. Like, if it's so bad in Mike's pocket that he got to pretend to let that dude beat him in a fight, bruh.
I don't think that Mike will let that happen, but it sounds to me. So didn't Mike do like an exhibition against Holyfield or something not too long ago, right?
Oh, it did happen, didn't it?
Yeah, right. I think and Mike looked good relative to Holyfield. However, you are assuming, and my first assumption is that neither of them really going to try to destroy each other because they understand the situation. They're going to try to give us an interesting fight. But you're assuming that it is Mike's choice. And maybe this is me being ageist. He 57, bruh. Like, there's a chance that he could get rocked.
I know, you're right. I don't know if I don't think it's ageism. I think it's reasonable. I think it's all of those things. But I'm just telling you, and I don't know, maybe I'm engaging in some ism myself over here of a different variety. I just can't believe that we live in a world where Mike Tyson need to be afraid that Jake Paul gonna whoop his ass. I just can't. I can't take myself there. Like, I was on the internet in some argument about Jordan and LeBron, and it's so amazing because the issue with the young people on this is they got some real nerve in making the assumption that anybody who thinks that Jordan was better than LeBron is clinging to nostalgia. But they are the most reasonable people in the world, because what of growing up in the internet era would not make you the most reasonable person in the world, right? Like, you get out here and you make this point, which I think is a good one, which is, how did LeBron just leapfrog over Magic without a discussion, right? Yeah. Like LeBron might be better than Magic was, but we not even gonna talk about it, right? We not even gonna chat about it. Come on, man, that's craziness. It's poppycock. We going a little bit too far in this, right? I've forgotten what I was actually talking about in the first place, because I was just getting a little frustrated with the idea that, damn, y'all just gonna make it. Yeah, and everybody's nostalgic when they talk about back in the day, as opposed to having, like, maybe, just maybe, actually knowing what you're talking about.
And the best, this is a sports argument that I don't take too seriously, because it's a sports argument. But I think the reason why these arguments happen, and the reason why I'm concerned about Mike, are one and the same. It's like the arguments are vague when you talk about who's better, who's greater. I would argue that, given the globalization of the game, the advancement of NBA talent and basketball, that this NBA is better than the NBA of the 90s as far as talent is concerned. So if you're talking that LeBron was at some point able to dominate in this, it's reasonable to say that he is a better basketball player. But that's not the conversation we're having. I think you have to have the conversation about the context. So obviously, if LeBron went against Mike today, LeBron would win. Or LeBron in his prime against Mike in his 50s, he would win. And that's what scares me about the Jake Paul fight. And I know that Jake Paul is not like a great all-time boxer, and Mike would definitely lose to a great heavyweight right now. But that's what scares me, is like, yeah, Jake Paul is young and strong and, like, showed some reasonable boxing ability, and he could catch Mike. I know. I find it hard to say.
It scares me. It scares me. And if that happens, man, like, if Jake Paul's allowed to leave that arena, the black folks ain't raising their kids like they used to. I just want to throw this out here right fast on the Jordan and LeBron. Remember that time Mike was afraid to take a shot? Exactly. Conversation over.
Nope.
Conversation over. There's nothing else to discuss.
So I've been kind of watching what Netflix is doing with the live sports, and it seems clear to me that they're angling for the NFL. This decision surprises me, if they're angling for the NFL, to go get involved with the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson thing. And I guess it doesn't matter. They want to prove that they can do live sports over and over again, and then eventually give the NFL a big check. And I guess it doesn't matter going forward, but, like, this does not seem like the prestige that the NFL would align themselves with, while Netflix is doing inside the NFL going forward. And they got that quarterbacks thing, and they got the F1 thing. They did the tennis not too long ago. Like, they are clearly, to me, prepping themselves to get the NFL a big old check coming up here at the next opportunity.
Yeah, like, my thing is, does credibility matter anymore? Like, like, the concern that you point out, which is one that I would have had too, is, like, is the NFL want to engage with people who engage in this? For shit, the NFL do business with ESPN, which is out there doing business with Dana White, right? There was a time where that was something that you absolutely would not put your hands on, because people just found it to be so sleazy. So I don't know if any of those things matter anymore. I do think for Netflix, you're right, just the demonstration that you could put on live sports. We could even make the argument that this started when they did the live Chris Rock special, right? Just to demonstrate that they got the wherewithal to put this all out here. So, maybe that's the game they play it, right? Maybe that's the direction that we're going in. One of my good friends hit me up and was like, yo, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, I think I got to watch that. I think I don't.
I'm not looking forward to it myself. I don't think I'm going to watch it. Am I lying? If I don't got nothing to do, I might pop it on. But yeah, I'm not excited about it. I'm not interested in it. I'll watch whatever gets online afterwards when we have the concussions that we're allowed to laugh at. One of those takes place.
Yeah, boxing.
I'll see
boxing.
That.
Head injury in boxing, all chuckles.
Yeah.
That's how you know people ain't shit, man. Everything they try to get on you and try to draw them lines about you when something happened and what you're supposed to be sad about. Because that's the thing about the internet. People try to force all this stuff on you and what you got to be sad about, when you got to be quiet, why you can't say nothing. Like Chris Mortensen died a couple of days ago, rest in peace. And I didn't know him, right? Like, I'm aware of him, obviously, like, but I didn't have anything to say. So I kept on talking about what I was talking about. And somebody told me I was some bad dude for not talking about Chris Mortensen. And I'm like, homie, I got nothing to say here. Nothing. But I was having this conversation over here that was working.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that one person or a couple of people are kind of irrelevant. But yeah, I mean, it's not a shot at anybody because you're talking about there's always something terrible happening somewhere, somehow. And like, if you have nothing to add to that conversation, you can go ahead and have a different conversation. Ain't nobody mad.
Yeah, man. I had something I was going to ask you about, and now I got to remember what it was. Oh, you and I have not talked since we found out just how much Sean Payton hates Russell Wilson. Like, you know what lets you know? And I guess it's partially just the structuring of the contract of why it has to be this way, I guess, but just how much they hate him. The Giants ain't even going to do that with Daniel Jones.
And not. Yeah, I think that does have something to do with it, but it seems pretty clear to me that Russell's the big headline, but they gave Sean Payton a big old contract over a long period of time, and he cleaning house. There's both the receivers, it's rumored, are going to be out. Simmons, they said, are releasing him today. They just bottoming out and clearing out the roster and building towards something, which, like, I don't hate it as a strategy. The way they've gone about it is uncomfortable and embarrassing. But the one thing about this is you avoid, and you bringing up Daniel Jones is a good point, because by doing this, you avoid like the moral hazard concern that comes with a coach or a general manager trying to give you a glimpse of a reason to keep them, which oftentimes means like throwing a little something out there, get a couple extra wins that is actually not building towards a championship contender. So as uncomfortable as all this stuff is, Sean Payton, I assume, went into his interview and was like, y'all fucked up. Y'all fucked up here, here, and here, and here. And the only way to fix this is to blow all this up. I'm not going to be able to come in and patchwork us into being a champion. I assume that's what he sold to them, and it seems like he is executing upon that now, and it's going to be painful for a couple of years. But I think that gives them a better chance of having success in the future than a lot of other teams who have coaches who are on the hot seat, who are going to go grab a quarterback to convince you that we are good enough, or who are going to go all in on a free agent to get them an extra win or so, but not actually do what's best for the long-term interest of the team.
No, so I think there's something to that, but this is the question I have about what he's going to do, what they're going to do, how they're going to figure this out, right? Because I think everything you said there is fair. And I mean, you've watched more with your eyes than I have, but from looking at the advanced numbers that I've seen on Russell Wilson, it appears that his counting stats give you the impression of a player that's better than the one that's turning up when people actually watch him with their own eyes. Like, I've only heard a couple of people maybe come out there and be like, yo, the film ain't bad. Like, oh, it's over. It seems like it's done. And so you got to move on. Okay. My question, though, for Denver is, where are you going to get this quarterback from? Because one thing that we don't know anything about is what Sean Payton thinks. Like, does he know anything about a quarterback? Because the only one time that we have seen him say, I think this guy has something, let's see what we could do about it, it was one-legged Taysom Hill. And he really talked himself into believing that. And that was ridiculous. Anybody in the world could have told you that was not going to work. And only his ego could have led him to believe that you could turn Taysom Hill into a starting NFL quarterback. You could say Drew Brees, that's fine, but that is the most fortuitous bounce that anybody has ever had. The Dolphins didn't trust the physical on his shoulder. The Saints were desperate enough to roll the dice on it. But more than that, that is probably the best free agent quarterback to ever come available. If you took the shoulder part out of it, he was the best free agent quarterback that's ever hit the market. I guess I'd say even to a degree better than Peyton Manning, because Peyton Manning was old and with a bad neck at that point, right? They got lucky that was available. Are they going to be sorry enough to go draft a quarterback? I don't think so. Are they going to do something to move up in this draft and get a quarterback? That seems to be unlikely. So what is the actual plan that they're going to have to get a quarterback? And is Sean Payton the person to pick the quarterback?
Yeah, I'm not sure that Sean Payton is the person to pick the quarterback, but who the hell is? Like, nobody is. Who have we seen show consistently that they know how to pick quarterbacks short of Cliff Kingsbury always being next to him? I think that the smart way to build a team, and I'm making a lot of assumptions, but I don't think worrying about where you're going to get a quarterback is where they are right now. I think that what they need to do is to clean house and get on a different timeline and start to get good players where you can get good players. And they recognize, while letting a lot of these players go and moving them for the stuff that they can get for them, that the players that are there now are on the old timeline. They were on the we're quarterback away. We're going to get Aaron Rodgers. We didn't get Aaron Rodgers. Okay, we'll get Russell, and he's going to be the difference maker. And they found out he wasn't. So you know what? Abort this plan. And if they had another coach there who had 2 years left on his deal or 3 years left on his deal, they'd be trying to patch this shit together right now. They might still be sticking with Russ, or they might go try to get Jimmy Garoppolo or Kirk Cousins or somebody else. And I think that would be the bigger mistake. So the smart plan, and again, I don't know this, but their behavior is suggesting that what they are doing is starting over and hopefully building up some young talent. And then we can look for free agent quarterbacks, or then we can draft a quarterback, because we don't really have the evidence that you can't have success with quarterbacks drafted later into a good situation. Like, I would feel much more confident, because we assume, I think this is the problem we get into, is that we let the draft hype happen. And because we know there are going to be great players, it's not like the NBA draft. The NFL draft, every year, they're going to be a couple of great players. We know they're going to be great players in the draft. There are not really that many great quarterbacks every year. And so I think assuming that just because you're high in the draft means you're going to get a good quarterback, no, it means you have access to great players. The fact that you drafted a quarterback because you need one does not mean he's going to be great. So it just feels like a faulty strategy to be like, hey, we got to get to the top of the draft to draft a great quarterback. How many great quarterbacks do we get a year? Like, how many we get every 5 years?
Right.
and how many of those are drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? And I think that's the problem, is we get into this hype cycle that you think that you got to be there to get a quarterback. You don't. So they could build up a really good team that gets them mediocre and then grab a good quarterback at 10, or grab a free agent quarterback, or get a quarterback in the 3rd round, like, or later, like Dak or Russell.
Yeah. The counterpoint, though, is, like, how many people have actually pulled this off? So, like, I'm looking at the league right now. Teams are starting quarterbacks that were taken outside of the top 10. The Jets with the Aaron Rodgers, and that is how that happened, is still really, really mind-blowing that dude was not taken in the top 10. The Patriots with Mac Jones, LOL.
Yep.
The Ravens, another quirky situation. The Browns, Deshaun Watson was not a top 10 pick. And at least he used to be good. I don't know about right now. The Steelers with Kenny Pickett. I could have told you that was a bad idea. Like, that one to me is where you're like, you don't have to go all the way up to get a guy. My thing is, if you're between 10 and 30, wait till the 2nd round. Just wait. You can get this with a different risk premium, right? The Texans have a top 10 pick. The Jaguars are. That entire division, AFC South, and if you add Ryan Tannehill there, I think he was a top 10 pick. Like, although I guess he's out of there now when they're going with the Will Levis experiment. The Raiders did an outside top 10 pick guy. The Broncos, I mean, it worked for Russell Wilson at one point. There's Dak, there's Jalen Hurts, there's a number of guys. I think it's fair to say, like, Jordan Love, another interesting situation. There's a number of guys that you can get. Whether you can just be like, oh, we'll go get somebody. I don't know.
I use top 5 because I think that's like, but I mean, top 10 or whatever. I think my point is, I think that the talent differential between a lot of quarterbacks is small. And the reason why, and I think this is what like bolsters my position, is find me the quarterbacks that came into shitty situations and then became successful. I think that is more determinative of the success of the players, the situation, than where the player is drafted. So if you happen to like make a trade that gets you at the top of the draft while you also have a super talented team, then by all means go for that great quarterback. And that would be like, the Bears are a close situation right there where they're okay, but they're not bad enough to be at the top of the draft. Then go for that top quarterback. But I think you're better off getting a quarterback later in the draft and put him into a situation that you have built up. I think it's really hard. I mean, we got CJ Stroud and Joe Burrow are the examples of guys going into situations recently where we're like, hey, that shit sucks. And then all of a sudden, that shit don't suck no more. And Burrow set out a year.
Yeah, and had Jamar Chase. Like there's
which helps.
He didn't show up alone, right?
Yep.
But is there a chicken egg scenario though when we talk about this? Because like historically, you can make the argument that John Elway went into a not great situation and played with teams where they didn't get anything around him and still managed to go to three Super Bowls, right? Like he's that guy. But you're right. I can't think of a guy that was like, yo, everything was bad, and then this guy got here, and then everything is good. But I can't tell which way the causality goes.
I think you're right. It's hard to tell which way the causality goes, but I think I suggest that it goes good situation to good player because we see the guys who are in the league now, and we see also every year we see quarterbacks drafted to bad situations, and most of the times those fail. So maybe it just so happens that these good organizations also are good at drafting quarterbacks. Possibly. I think what's more likely is that every quarterback that's drafted in the first round, or every quarterback that's drafted, frankly, is super talented. And you get there and we don't ask you to do much. And you can learn and you can develop. We're going to give you some help. And then next thing you know, you add something to your game. And then we ask you to do a little bit more. We ask you to do a little bit more. And it seems logical, which doesn't mean that it's right, but it seems logical. And the track record suggests that that's, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is an unfair example, I guess, but then we got Dak Prescott and we got Josh Allen in that situation, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Like, these are the best quarterbacks in football right now. And none of them fell. I guess Herbert might have fell into a bad situation, but they ain't been good yet.
Yeah, and I guess Geno Smith becomes your classic example. It dropped into a bad situation, and then maybe it took 10, 12 years, but then you got into a good one and everything worked out okay, right? But I think in talking about this, I think the question becomes, what's the value of being pretty good? And when I say the value of being pretty good, I don't mean the value of the player being pretty good. I mean the value of the team being pretty good. So take Kirk Cousins as an example. You can be pretty good with Kirk Cousins. You cannot win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. So like the Falcons are out here like, okay, well, if we get Kirk Cousins, we'll probably be the best team in our division. We can get ourselves into the playoffs. We'll play a home playoff game. If we win this division, does it matter that fourth in the season he might throw us short of the sticks? I don't know, but we think we can put together a pretty good team. And I think that what is fair to ask the question about is you can get Dak Prescott, who right now seems to be a guy that tests the question, what's the value of being pretty good? Because he has played excellently, but we've seen him at nut cutting time seem to have a ceiling of how, like, of pretty good where you could be. Josh Allen, you could be great with that, right? Yeah. Like, I wouldn't have taken that guy at the time where he did or whatever, but then it became very clear, oh, snap, you can be great with that, right? Alex Smith, a great example of the past, obviously, a guy that you can get, and you can be pretty good with Alex Smith, but you can't be great with that. They had to go to Colin, right? And you could have made an argument at those points. Alex Smith was better than Colin, but you couldn't be great with Alex Smith. You could be great with Colin.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would push back a little bit by saying Kirk Cousins, you can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. You can win a Super Bowl with Eli Manning. You can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. Like, I think... okay, go ahead.
No. I'm hearing that, and I'm trying to come up with a refutation for it, and I don't really have it because you and I are in the same place on Eli Manning where we don't think that highly of him. And so, yes, you are right. You could win. But, here's the difference. Eli Manning used to make erratic decisions, but I would not have described Eli Manning in the tightest situations as a panicker.
No, he's as clutch as a quarterback at that level can be. Yes. Eli Manning has those moments. Eli Manning threw a game winner on me my rookie year when I was in Denver. So, like, I respect him in the end of the game situation. I guess my point is you recognize this when you're dealing with single elimination tournaments. If we are saying that Kirk Cousins is good enough to get them into the playoffs and a home game and maybe even a bye, like, we believe that's possible in the right situation. Yeah, he could win a couple more games, like single elimination. You could get some. I guess my point is, I agree. I'm not going to get Kirk Cousins and be like, oh, we are Super Bowl contenders immediately because he's here. But I think in the right situation. And like, you could have won. Okay, the perfect example is what the 49ers are doing. And maybe that's a fluky situation, but it's like they could have won 2 Super Bowls with 2 quarterbacks that neither of us think are like amazing quarterbacks.
Now, they become an interesting point to bring up here because Brock Purdy was not the problem in the game that they did not win. Jimmy Garoppolo absolutely was the problem.
Right.
In the game that he did not win, right? Like that's where this gets to be fun and interesting, because Kyle is running on the idea that, look, man, I can get us here and my big old brain will figure out what the solution is and to get us there. We also don't know with Brock Purdy, and we've seen this happen a few times, what it looked like last year and what it's going to look like this year. We don't know. It could be better. It could be worse. We really don't have an idea.
Well, the Jimmy Garoppolo Super Bowl, like, that was more about, to me at least, Patrick Mahomes doing something special than it was. I mean, I know Jimmy missed that deep ball and he threw a turnover just before halftime. Like, he wasn't good, but they were up by 10 in the fourth quarter. That's a game you should be able to put away. Like, that to me, while the 49ers didn't win, that counts to me as, like, it like reminds me when people were saying, like, you can't win a Super Bowl if you give a certain percentage to a player. Only teams can win Super Bowls with guys in their rookie deal at quarterback. Like, no, if you look at the track record, there have been plenty of teams in position to win Super Bowls. They just they happen not to win Super Bowl. It doesn't mean it's impossible to do. So I think there are probabilities assigned to when you have a quarterback that is pretty good. Those are not high probabilities, but they're probabilities to that when you're winning a Super Bowl. When you have a quarterback who's great, it goes up. Agreed. But the problem is you ain't getting one of them. That's like your retirement plan being to win the lottery. They ain't growing on trees. So if you own the team, sure, you can wait around as a strategy and hope that you draft Josh Allen eventually. Again, not a top 5 pick, but you can assume that that's going to happen. Or you're going to get Patrick Mahomes, or you're going to get somebody great. That to me seems like an asinine way to go about trying to be successful. Whereas what you're much better off doing is trying to build up a good team and hoping you strike gold a couple times like Eli did.
I still can't believe, like, it hasn't happened yet, but it's coming. They're going to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Easy.
It's the worst because it's not like I feel about Jason Witten, where I think putting Jason Witten in the Hall of Fame is indefensible. Like, I just don't think that, I don't think you can make a case. The only case you can make is Pro Bowls, right? Or like the All-Pro thing. And I'm just like, I was there. I saw it. Like, you're not fooling me on this, right? Putting Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame is not indefensible. But if you choose to be the person to defend putting Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame, you're the problem. Like, that was a choice, and you're the problem.
I mean, we really needed Joe Flacco to go on a Super Bowl winning run with the Browns last year, because that really would have made people call to question the Eli Manning Hall of Fame case.
Hold up. It's so funny you mentioned that. If Lee Evans had not dropped that pass for the Ravens,
yep.
If I am not mistaken, that Super Bowl would have been Joe Flacco versus Eli Manning, and the winner would probably be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, for damn sure. Well, the winner was a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Or is going to be a Hall of Famer. But yeah, you're right.
But it would be a loser leaves town match for the Hall of Fame. Or maybe Flacco would have got credit for losing and then coming back the next year.
I would have got a ring too, so I wish that shit would have happened. Or I'd at least been there. I tore my ACL earlier that season, but I was on that team. I was at that game when Lee dropped that ball and then Billy tried and missed a very makeable field goal. That shit was painful.
Wow.
Brother.
Look at this Gippy motherfucker blaming everybody, you know? Lee dropped the ball,
anybody.
Billy missed the kick.
I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, yeah, we was there. Like, it happened. Like, I didn't help at all. I tore my ACL on the first day of training camp, so I had no reason to collect the ring. But you know what I was going to do? Take that goddamn ring. I don't mean to blame them. I gave up plenty of plays. Plenty of shit was my fault. But in that situation, we needed one of them to do one of them things.
We'd have been introducing you as Super Bowl champion like I got this Emmy behind me.
And I would not have been as graceful as you explaining to people what had happened. I just let them look at that shine. Like, boy, I put in my time. I put in my time to get me a ring. I deserve it for all the times when I was not rewarded for my sacrifice.
Prize Picks is the most fun you can have by winning up to 25 times your money. And with the football season over, you can still win money with basketball and hockey. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You can pick combo projections across multiple sports from the Specials League. a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. And if you stick around for the end of the show, you'll get to hear some picks from our producer, Sean, that can either help you win or make you fail miserably. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays offers a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have plenty of styles and colors to pick from, so finding your next pair of shades is a breeze. Plus, if your shades go MIA or take a hit, don't sweat it. They've got lost and broken protection, so you're covered from day one. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. If you don't love your shades, exchange or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code Bomani for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. What would you do with an extra hour in your day? Some of us would use it productively to exercise or get more work done, while others would use that extra hour to get some rest to do something you enjoy. The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. Therapy helps you find your strengths and also your weaknesses. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Bomani today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bomani. Are you someone who hydrates to live or lives to hydrate? Are you chugging water throughout the day or periodically having a glass? Well, if you use Liquid IV, which has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink plus 8 vitamins and nutrients for everyday wellness, you can hydrate even faster. Liquid IV is super easy to use. Just take a pre-measured packet and pour it into a glass of water, mix it up, and enjoy. You can take it out home before you start your day or take it with you to work or the gym. Plus, with their roster of flavors, which includes my favorite, lemon lime, you can easily find the right flavor for you and your taste buds. However you hydrate, grab your Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier sugar-free in bulk nationwide at Costco or get 20% off your first order when you go to liquidiv.com and use code Bomani at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code Bomani at liquidiv.com. All right, Domonique, we got to come up with some other stuff to talk about now. We went through a good solid half hour of jibber jabber, landing in the right place.
I've been doing these shows a little bit, and the Justin Fields reaction has been interesting to me, and the Justin Fields conversation has been interesting to me.
Justin Fields, I think, is very interesting.
Okay, let me hear what you got on Justin.
I feel like, to a degree with Justin Fields, there's a lot of my daddy talk about Tony Banks at play.
Yeah.
Tony Banks can play. Like, we gonna hold out that Tony Banks can play for as long as we can, right? Tony Banks can play, but like, it take him a long time to decide to get the ball out of his hand. And I don't know if that gets fixed. I don't know how that gets fixed. But if it doesn't get fixed, it's a big problem and it limits how good that he can be, period. But he plays for the Bears, and that gets into your other theory that it's the situation, not necessarily the dude. But even you have been like, nah, man, I don't think Tony Banks got it.
Yeah, I'm as we've discussed before, I'm late to give up on certain guys because of scar tissue that I have from from years of watching the way that these players are talked about. But so there's two things. I believe that the first destination can define a player's career. So like, I'm not saying, even if I believe that the reason why he's developed poorly is a result of him being in a bad situation, I don't necessarily believe that going to a new situation will fix it. Sometimes I think it's too late. And sometimes I think that whatever happened at that situation has defined a great deal of who you are, the quarterback. I believe that because we have not seen it happen too many times. I think Jim Plunkett was the best example we could think of like a high profile player failing at his first stop and then going somewhere else and becoming great. Like, we have guys who go somewhere else and succeed, but becoming great. And the one problem that he's having is the one you mentioned. The biggest problem he's having is deciding when to get rid of the ball. You've been playing behind a bad offensive line and you still hold on to it. Like, that's a problem that's going to be hard to overcome no matter where he lands. And I think the Justin Fields excitement is about possibility. And it reminds me a little bit of how you said with Kaepernick. Yeah, if you get it right, it could be great. And that's something that Kirk Cousins is at his ceiling. What he was doing last year before he got hurt is the best we've ever seen Kirk Cousins play. And that's the best he's going to be. That's his ceiling. Justin Fields' ceiling is top of the league, best in football type of guy. He has all the shit that Josh Allen has. He got it all. But we ain't seen him do it.
Right. And that was the thing. Josh Allen became that guy, right? Who was just like, yo, man, and maybe, I mean, I know how this might sound to some of y'all, but I feel like some of y'all are going to get me on this, right? And I'm going to say this part up front. I don't want too many people to take this too seriously, but at the same time, your boy ain't no motherfucking joke, okay? Right? But what if we just kind of talking about that white privo right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, Josh Allen ain't got no fear. He be out there living like the white man. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, man. Maybe he gets it. Maybe he doesn't. Oh, well, hey, man, let it square body. Why can't a square body catch the ball, dude? Right? Just gonna throw that thing up there and people will live with it. Justin Fields, no, he can't be out here living that YOLO life. He can't just be out here winging that bitch down the field. That's not an option.
That is the best explanation for why he hold on to the ball in the pocket that I've ever heard. That's the best. Because he know. And that's like, I saw a comedian a couple of days ago talking about how someone came up to him and asked why do black people coordinate the way they dress? And then he made this point that I was like, yeah, well, you kind of feel like there are assumptions made about you. So your shoes better be clean. Your clothes better match. Everything better be sharp. And not only you assume that, because you're trying to send a message to people. You're assuming that people have these preconceived notions about you, and you're sending a message like, no, I ain't whatever racist caricature you have. I'm something different. So that's why there's a importance on presenting yourself in a certain light. And also you feel like you represent all the black people that are then to come after you, and that feels like a responsibility. And it is possible that Justin Fields has the weight of Tony Banks on his shoulders when he dropped back and start making his decisions. He like, nah, I'm trying to convince y'all that I ain't him. I'm something different.
Oh my God. Like, I'm just saying, Josh Allen, like, yo, you got to feel the vibes, man.
Yeah,
you just got to,
Josh Allen, you can walk up in here and I think that most white people may not know this about them. And this is like, there's different type of privileges. There's male privilege too. And I know that as a man, there's certain things like I walk into a room and people think that I can lead. I'm a leader because I'm a man, and that's a different for women. But for a white man, you can walk into a restaurant in cargo pants and flip-flops and a t-shirt, and people will assume that you're all right.
You do it in the right place. A white man show up underdressed in the right place. Oh, he must got money.
Exactly. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I know. I feel the same way. You don't
Like-
walk around like that unless you got bread.
Like that white man show up underdressed up in Stuckies. He's supposed to be there. All right. He's just part of the landscape. That white man show up underdressed at the Soho House. Got to get this paper. He show up at the Soho House just a little bit too fly, fronting.
Yep. That's sad, but true. It's exactly right. And poor Justin Fields just try to throw some touchdowns, run some touchdowns. It's the only position where that's the other thing about Josh Allen. Like, you never, and I guess it's, to be fair, Josh Allen always had that arm, but you don't get the same. And maybe this is, to be fair, this is probably evolution of the game where we start to appreciate the athletic quarterback, which it also happens to coincide with more athletic white quarterbacks like Daniel Jones and Josh Allen. But we don't get the his game is about running too much, that conversation nearly as much as we did in the past. But we definitely do get it about Justin Fields, but also because Justin Fields' best games are a result of him running for 100 yards.
And they had to kind of make him run. He didn't run this much in college. Like, it was just like, hey, man, you better get out here and try something new.
We know you got it. We heard. We seen it.
I never thought that Justin Fields would be a dude that ran for 1,000 yards in an NFL season. Like, I'll say that confidently. Like, I mean, Lamar running for, I mean, honestly, Lamar puts up rushing totals I didn't think were possible for quarterbacks. A lot of that has to do with a paradigmatic shift in the way the football is being played. But, you know, like Michael Vick had that 1,000-yard season, but I don't think he had nearly as many carries as Lamar did. Like, Michael Vick did that averaging like 8 yards a carry.
I like the idea of Michael Vick, though, because you was about to say Lamar, then you said Michael Vick. Michael Vick, he would be nasty athlete. What? Can't nobody stick with Michael Vick. They would put him at receiver ASAP.
Michael Vick would have gotten a much longer sentence.
I'm not allowed to laugh at that, am I?
They might still have, like, not because LaMichael Vick is a different person, but because people be judging.
Yes.
Just so I'm clear.
Oh, yeah.
Just so I'm clear.
LaMichael Vick would have played corner, and LaMichael Vick would have got a much longer sentence.
LaMichael Vick would have gone from the stripes horizontal on his Tommy Hilfiger polo shirts to them stripes in Leavenworth. LaMichael Vick would have had a shirt that looked just like what he was wearing in the Worth.
I think I thought that he played corner because of my man L'Jarius Sneed. That's what chopped in my head. He just got franchise tag. L'Jarius Sneed.
I was thinking LaMichael James. He used to play for Oregon. You remember him?
Yeah. I remember LaMichael James.
L'Jarius Sneed, by the way, this is happening more and more with the corner position. And you pay more attention to it, so you be peeping it. But like, dudes turned out to be good. That I be like, hey man, you was just a dude just a little while ago.
Absolutely. I think, and L'Jarius Sneed is nasty, like as a player and as a personality on the field, which has value. And he's going to get paid, so it doesn't matter what I say, and he deserves to get paid. But I do think that we are celebrating some of the wrong things about him. And I talked about this on my show a couple of days ago, is like how I think that Steve Spagnuolo's offense optimizes for really versatile, intelligent defensive backs. Not shut down, Sauce Gardner type, like classic Darrelle Revis, you take that best receiver and get rid of him. That's not what you see when you see Sneed. And so they will put him in man coverage against top receivers, but they ain't really trying to do that. They trying to confuse the quarterback, and his ability to play in different spots and to change up his technique and his style through the course of the game is incredibly valuable. But I think what they are signaling to us, and something I also think, is they can franchise tag him, but they can't pay him top of the league cornerback money, even though his performance suggests he deserves it. Because when you pay a guy like that type of money, what I need you to do is do what Jalen Ramsey did in his prime. I can put you anywhere. You can take a tight end out the game if I need you to. You can take a receiver out the game if I need you to. You can blitz if I need you to. And that ain't what L'Jarius Sneed is, which it feels like disrespect, but I don't mean it as that. He's something different.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like, and I ask you this. Like, Sauce is an example. How many of those like island types are left in the league?
It's not many, man. Like the game evolves and we react defensively. And I think we evolved away from needing those type of corners as much because we started to get these more versatile receivers that you put a bunch of different places and you do a bunch of different things. And we also have done a lot more like optimizing for tight end performance and slot receivers. And I think those guys, the guys that are in the league now, Patrick Surtain's another example, are guys that I do think are better corners than we were or any of our best corners were back in the day. Like, not the best, but generally the skill level is probably higher. The expectations are different. The rules are different. It's more challenging. They're probably higher. But what's asked of them is not nearly as much that was asked of even mediocre corners back in the day, because we were still in a time where we were like, all right, we got to stop the run. And, they was bringing Randy Moss out there and defenses were still like, you know what football's about? Stopping the run. We're going to make them throw it out there and we're going to leave you all by yourself. If you're good enough, we'll leave you all by yourself. Even if you're not good enough, sometimes we're going to leave you by yourself because the challenge of completing deep passes is much more difficult. We don't do that too much anymore. Like, if you watch the All-22, you see a lot of safeties moving. You see a lot of stuff happening. It's rare. Even the Jets run a lot of cover 3. It looks a lot like man because they have corners. I think DJ's really good too. And Sauce, they have corners that are capable and they go press. But you look at everyone else, they're doing zone drops, which then means while you're still playing cover 3 like cover 1, you still got somebody sitting inside underneath and you still got somebody high on the inside. And it makes it a little harder on the quarterback and a little easier for the corners.
Where are you at on Stingley at this point?
I like him. I mean, I got confirmation bias. I love them coming in. But that means I could be wrong. But he's a guy who makes plays, which I think Johnson in Chicago is another really talented corner, but he got a hard time holding on to the ball when they throw it to him. That ain't Stingley problem. And I like a guy like that. It's a lot like Diggs, where it's like, all right, he ain't going to be perfect all the time. And Stingley's like that. Not perfect all the time, but put that thing an inch out of place. He not going to bat it down. He going to catch it. And I need that. I need that with my guys. Him and, oh man, I wish I had this rant a couple days ago. Or not rant, but just disappointment. Because one thing that I thought I used to be good at was evaluating the position that I played. And I have never had confidence in it since Jeff Okudah came into the league. Because that was some of the best technical film I had ever seen in college. And
really?
I wasn't a scout, so like I didn't have a whole bunch, like years and years to look at, but the technique was so sound and he was fast enough to run with guys. I was like, oh, we're looking at a real shutdown corner. And I looked at Sauce and was less impressed. And I was dead wrong about both. Okudah ain't really found a true home, and Sauce might be the best corner. I think Surtain's better, but Sauce and Surtain are probably the best 2 corners in football.
Well, this is the thing with Okudah, and I mean, I know this isn't like totally connected, but like, and this ain't gonna mean that much to you, but you got to remember, man, he from Dallas. At some point, he was probably gonna let you down. Right. In fact, let me get a look at what his haircut game was.
It was simple, I think.
Okay, just making sure he ain't have a shag.
He ain't had no shag. No, I knew that he was going with that. He did not have a shag. And I did not know he was from Dallas. I just knew that his tape was strong, man. He was standing in front of the best receivers in college football, just pressing them, just running with them. I blame everybody else.
That's a metaphor for life. And that is Domonique Foxworth. Check him out on the Domonique Foxworth Show, available wherever you get fine podcasts like this one. My man, I appreciate you.
No problem, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Now, and ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We are going to be recording live from South by Southwest on Saturday, March the 9th?
Yes, the 9th.
Yeah. March 9th, we will be recording at South by Southwest on March the 9th. If you're down there in Austin, come check us out. Sean, you handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater, and we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.